How's it going, guys? Welcome to Audio Addiction. We have Demon and me with us, and he can say his name, what he does, and all that good stuff.
Hello, my name is Kyle. I play guitar and sing in Demon and Me.
Awesome. So the first thing, Kyle, I asked this to a lot of bands that I have on here, and I'm sure you always have. I always, almost always have an interesting story about it. And how did you guys start out, Demon and Me? How did you meet the rest of your members? I think there's three members in your group. So how did you go come across to meet them?
Good question. I'm gonna try to keep. I'm a little bit of a rambler, just a
Go
heads up,
ahead.
and then
Take
I'm
it as
gonna
long
try
as you
to
want.
keep it as concise as possible. But when the project started, it was a solo project at first, and then it was me and one other guy. This was back in 20. We started writing back in 2014, and then announced the project in 2015, which was when we went into the studio to record the first record. But that was just me and one other person. And then eventually, it just kind of stayed a brainchild of mine. Like I did most of the writing and almost all of the recording, and then I would hire like drummers and a couple of different like engineers and like co-writers that would come in and help me out with stuff. And then,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a solo project for a little while. And then eventually, when we started getting into the idea of like touring and playing, live shows regionally and stuff, I started looking for a lineup that was a little bit more permanent.
Mm-hmm.
And Julian, who plays bass for us now, he went on our first tour. He's been in the band ever since, so he's had the longest tenure out of everybody in the project. Um, and then Ciro, who plays drums for us, came in around 2016, I think, in the spring, which was our either a second or third tour. Um, and we ended up really liking him, and he's now like my best friend in the whole world. So um, he's been in the band ever since then, and then we've cycled through about 20 different lead guitarists ever since. Like from 2015 to now, we've had like no exaggeration. I think it's like 20 or 21 people that have played guitar for us. Some of them were like one, two, three shows or whatever. Some of them were just for a tour. Some of them were for a few months. But we finally just recently locked in a guy named Matt, who's been in the band for probably about a year now, and he is in another band called Elk Grove, and
Nice.
that's where we met him. We played a show with them down in LA, and just kind of stayed in contact, and then eventually just kind of connected, and he liked the music and the vibe, and we ended up becoming really good friends, and now he plays guitar for us. And then he also has a solo project called New Shampoo, so I'll just throw some promo in there for him as well. So Elk Grove and New Shampoo, make sure you guys check those out. Those are Matt's project. But this is hopefully the solidified and final lineup after all of these crazy, crazy member changes. So
Yeah, because I know I had found out about your music through your manager, Brent from I the
yeah,
Mighty. I
yeah,
know that he's been doing the Lord's work with your band. So I was like, I remember, I don't even know, it was a couple years ago, and I was just like, he was like, yo, check out this band I manage. He's like, I just started managing them. And he's like, you should check their music out. And I remember, I literally am looking at an I the Mighty poster that is hanging right behind my computer and
yeah,
like my setup, and they're one of my favorite bands of all time. So it was really cool to interview him. But I remember him really plugging this band, and again, I love their band, so I was just like a fan of music. So I was just like, I'll check out Demon and Me. Like, what do I have to lose? I don't think he would
right.
steer me wrong. So I checked it out, and I was just like, holy shit. I'm like, Kyle's got a good voice. Like, I don't know what about him. There's something about like the songwriting, like the whole group itself. Like, it was just something that to me was like, I need to like have Kyle on at some point and talk. And I remember, I don't know if it was like, I don't know how early on was it, but like I remember DMing you and I didn't hear anything. And then I wind up like seeing Brent at other shows and stuff when he came to like, because I kind of live close to Philadelphia. That's like my second home. And
Right.
when I the Mighty would come touring through, I'd be like, yo, Brent, I'm like, love your music, all this sort of stuff. And I was like, I know you guys, I know you manage Demon and Me. I was just like, I've been hitting Kyle up to do something. He's like, we got it. We'll do something. We'll do something. And then just I guess it didn't happen or whatever. He lost track because he was on tour, so I'd imagine he'd
Yeah.
probably forget. And no hard feelings, Brent, if you watch this. But then I like more recently hit you up, and I was just like, Kyle, my guy. I was like, and we were talking about it off camera. I was like, you guys gotta come on. Like, I don't know how many more times I have to ask. Like, do you want me to get on 2 knees and send you a video of like me being like, Kyle, please come on, man. I was like, I've been doing this for years, man. I was like, I feel like no one's been this persistent about having your band on something. So, at least to my knowledge. So I was like, gotta get you on. And like I said, Demon and Me is sick. So if you guys haven't checked them out, go do so. But that was the initial. I remember that was the initial interaction or connection. But and then I think I remember either messaging Julian. I'm pretty sure it's Julian because I'm friends with Julian on Facebook.
Yeah.
I remember messaging him about it, and then he literally circled it back to you, and I was just like, I haven't been able to get a hold of Kyle, like, so I can't do this shit. So it was just it was years in the making. So
I know, and I mentioned that in my little promo post too today, talking about your show and what you do and stuff, and that's like totally on me. I'm not, as we were talking about, before we got started, I'm not the best at keeping up with responding with people, and I don't know if it's like this weird sort of like social anxiety or what, but it's not like I have like 1,000 messages in my inbox or anything. It's just sometimes I lose track of stuff, and then it's just like weird and awkward, and it's just sitting there, it's like staring at me, and it's like, you should respond to this person, but don't be weird because it's been 2 weeks since you've talked to them, like, and then it's like I don't want them to think like, oh, sorry, I'm just now getting around to you, like it's not like that. It's just, oh man, yeah. So anyway. I think TLDR. I think we're it's good to be
connected.
finally getting into this, and like it's something that I feel like we've both wanted to do ever since we first brought it up, and it's just sometimes coordinating stuff it's kind of like a lot like being in a band where you have all these wonderful plans to do all these amazing things, and the group chat's just on fire with all these sick ideas, and it's just everyone's just coming at you from all these different angles, and then like the next day it's just dead water, and
100%.
like nothing transpires from that crazy cool conversation that we had, so action is so much more difficult than what you want to do, so I can relate to that, I think, on so many different levels, but I'm glad we're doing it. I'm glad we got it arranged.
Yeah, I feel like I'm persistent enough, you know what I mean? We were talking about it. I feel like I'm just on the cusp.
The perfect amount.
I'm like, you know what? He hasn't responded to me in like 2 weeks. I'll hit him with that. Yo, what's going on, dude? Because I feel like most people respond to that, and I'm not like, yo, go like my band page, you know what I mean? Like, which we can talk about because we were talking about it a little bit. But like, I was even we were talking about it off camera, and I was just like, I was saying about like my personal Facebook page, I have 102 friend requests, and I am almost guaranteed that like 95% of them immediately when I add them are going to ask me to go like their band page.
Like my page, and then like you never talk again. Yeah.
I'm like, make a connection. You know what I mean? Like, I went out to Kyle. I was like, yo, love your band. I was like, found out about you through your manager, Brent. Wanted to check you out. Wanted to tell you got some good music. And just start a conversation. It's like I feel like people just see stuff on the internet and they're like, Kyle's such a cool dude. I'm like, I'm just not even gonna message him. I'm just gonna send him a friend request, and I'm just gonna send him an invite to like my band page. So as soon as he clicks on that friend request, it'll be immediately in his inbox to be like, yo, check out XYZ band, and we want to tour together or some shit. Like, not even saying anything. It's just like, my whole deal is like, if you're gonna add somebody, just say hello. Like, it's not hard to say hi to somebody on the internet. Like, I could literally go up to you and be like, yo, Kyle, what's going on, man? And like, if I was in a band, I'd just be like, have this conversation, and then like maybe like 5 or 10 minutes into the conversation, I'd be like, yo, I'm in a band, I see you're also in a band, if you want to check out what I do, I'll check out what you do, vice versa. Boom, done. That's it.
I feel like the crazy thing too is like you already know that you have something in common with that person. Like it's not like a dating website where you have to like cross your fingers and like, oh, I hope she's into hiking. It's like you already know that person likes music. Like, that is the easiest icebreaker in the world. Like, if you want to actually connect with someone and talk to somebody, and you like message, comment, I mean, whatever. You don't have to do it right away, but you don't want to be like overbearing or whatever. But like, you literally already know that they're in a band and you're in a band. So like, why not just like, it's so easy to just be like, hey, what kind of music do you like? Or hey, what are you listening to right now? Or
what is your
what,
band play? Like what
what's
type of
your
music does your
favorite
band play?
album? Like there's so many different things just with that one concept that like you can run with. And and at the end of the conversation you get your precious like, which is gonna do fucking nothing for you anyway, but like that's what you're after, right? You're after the connection and the likes and the numbers or whatever. But like it's so detrimental to add somebody and then immediately invite them to like your page, or just like mass invite everybody on your friends list, because the
Yeah.
people who aren't genuinely interested, if they like your page, that's actually worse than if they don't like your page, because the outreach is so minimal that like you're just going to end up with all these likes but zero interaction, and then you're going to have you could have thousands and thousands of likes, but then every time you make a post, you have to pay so much more money to get that into the eyes of the people who actually care about your band. So
Yeah.
even if they do like your page, like even if this complete stranger does, like, okay, I'm gonna be nice, like kind of a douche move, but whatever. Like, I'll be nice, I'll like the page, right? Even if they do, like, you're setting yourself up to fail if there's no genuine interest and there's no desire for them to actually support your project. And that's something that I feel like a lot of people don't recognize. I think people are starting to learn it now, but like the algorithm puts everybody in a very difficult position when it comes to being able to promote and post things, and outreach limitations and stuff like that. So it's super. I mean, we've talked about completely just deleting our page and starting over, just so that
Yeah.
like we might go from like, well, I don't know, like 10, I don't know what our page is at right now, it's like 10,000 or something like that, but we could go from 10,000 to 1,500, but it's 1,500 people that are like genuinely interested in what we have to say. um, so I mean, we've gone back and forth with doing that, but I mean, there's a lot of mistakes that people, including myself, have made over the years with that aspect of promotion. So
Oh, 100%.
anyway,
Yeah. Well, don't send Kyle a bunch of friend requests and just to go do that. Same with myself. Like, it's all about having a conversation. You know what I mean? Like, we're both. I mean, including on top of liking the same music or similar music, you're both human, and you both want an interaction that would warrant you to go check out something. I'm not gonna go check out something if we don't talk for years and you just send me a friend request. Like, that to
yeah,
me is null and void to me. Like, and I just think
yeah,
it's,
at least send me a meme,
yeah,
at
at
least
least send me a meme. Yeah.
butter me up, dude.
Yeah, butter. Yeah, I'm like,
Get me
like,
going a little bit,
I
okay?
want to hit I want to hit that button, on
Right,
my chair to turn around, like in The Voice. You know what I mean? Like, that's what
exactly.
I want. That's what I want to happen. Like, and even on top of that, like, even if it's just like, I just think it's extra ironic in my case because I do this. Like, I interview bands. So if
Right,
anything, you're losing an outlet that your band could be on because you
right,
just choose to not like be a normal human being and being like, you wouldn't go up to somebody out in the street and be like not even say anything to them. You just hand them something, right? Like, no one's gonna just like randomly take that
right.
shit. You know what I mean? So like,
Like, walk up to them and say, "Hey, pull out your phone and like this page if you don't mind."
yeah.
Nice to meet you, by the way.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
the afterthought of like, oh yeah, I'm like in a band, so if you want to like go like my page, like it's right here.
yeah,
Feel free to go like it. I don't want to have anything to do with you after you're done liking it, but like, you do that. So just some food for thought for everybody. No hate. I still love all of you. I don't. Kyle might say the same thing. I don't know. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I feel like
we love
even
everybody.
okay, there we
I love
go.
everybody.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like this is no hate, no judgment. If you do it, it's whatever. You live your life, but I'm not going to go like your page if you just send me a friend request and not start up a conversation. So, we're moving through that tumultuous topic.
Yeah, that was a good start. I hope people like get past this whole like intro of like us being super judgy, and they're like, cool. I wonder if they're gonna talk about like music or
There we
anything.
go. This is, well, it's a great segue, Kyle. We're gonna start talking about the music stuff. I do appreciate the storyline behind Demon and Me, because for me, I don't know, I'm like that music nerd that really enjoys like a good like story, and so like, I guess, how did you find Zero and Julian just like on like Craigslist, or like how did you find out about them? Where they were
Well,
like, oh, I want to be like, you were like looking for, like, because you had mentioned you were looking for people. So did you
yeah.
were they in other local bands and you're just like, yo, I think Julian's sick, or I think Zero's sick, so I'm gonna like steal them.
So so when we first launched the band, we
Mm-hmm.
released a song called "Make It Hurt," and that was in August of 2015. That was the first song we ever put out, and at the time, that was just me in the band. It was a solo project,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a bunch of guys in local bands that I really liked that I would have be in like promo pictures to make us look like we were, a full band.
Yeah.
And then when we played our first show, which was in October, that was actually a completely different lineup, just made up of some local musicians that I really liked, but that wasn't ever designed to be permanent. That was just designed to, have a full lineup where I would teach everybody the songs, and then we would, play shows as necessary, just because we felt like it was something I wanted to start doing with the project. Um, and our first show, I love talking about this particular. I'm gonna get to your question, I promise. I told you I'm a rambler,
It's
but
okay. Talk
our
about
first
all you want, Kyle.
our, our first show is like one of my favorite shows ever, and none of the guys that are in the band now were in the band at the time, but it was at the Red House in Walnut Creek, which people in my area, they'll know the venue. I don't expect you to have heard of that venue before because we're across the country,
Correct.
but um, anyway, it was like a cool little venue in this like nice little like Northern California city, and the show was with um, it was Cian it was Idle Hands,
Whew.
Strawberry Girls, and Movements. Yeah, so like
That is a great lineup.
it was so crazy because at the time this was like literally like a week after Movements announced signing to Fearless.
Oof.
So I knew them through mutual friends prior to them getting signed. So I was really excited to play with them. They were the main reasons I wanted to play this show, was just because I was a fan, and we had mutual friends, and I was excited to hang out with them and talk to them. And another fun fact is, do you know Corey Wells, Pure Noise from
I
Pure Noise?
do. I've interviewed Corey. Shouts to Corey. Corey Wells.
Dude, he's one of my best friends in the world, and him and I have been very close ever since that show. But that on that tour in particular, he was playing guitar for Movements, which a lot of people don't know. But
Yes.
so that was the night I finally met all of those guys in person. But yeah, it was Cianvar, Idle Hands, Strawberry Girls, and Movements, and that's like one of the best shows I think we've ever played, lineup wise. Because since then, every single one of those bands, aside from Idle Hands, who disbanded, rest in peace,
Yes.
have completely shot up in comparison to where they were at that time, especially Movements and Strawberry Girls as well. So um, that was cool. Anyway, so back to your question, cycling back on here. Uh, Julian was somebody that I have known for a long time from another band he was in called Altessa, which just sort of internet friends through past projects and mutual friends that were in other bands that I was in prior to DMing to me, and I hit up Julian, and I was like, hey, I'm looking for a bassist that's ready to tour because we got this little short, 2-week tour offer.
Mm-hmm.
And the guys that I have right now, they're not super permanent. They're just kind of guys that are here to help me, get live shows going. But I'd like to find something a little bit more solid. And he was super into the idea, and he came on the first tour, and he's been locked in ever since. And then we had a different drummer and a different lead guitarist for that tour. And then in March, I believe, of 2016, following that first tour, which was in January, um, Ciro and I met. I want to say we met at this tiny little dive bar show. It was a show. I was at a show, and I don't
Okay.
think I was performing. I think I was just going to the show. And I think he was also just at the show. And we were friends on Facebook, and he actually came up to me and approached me, and I did not recognize him at all. Um, but like it's like we talk about it all the time because like at the time it seems so like douchey to him that I was like, oh, who are you? And he's like, we've been friends on Facebook forever. And like he didn't really know, like at the time, like I spend a lot of time on Facebook building my network, so I know a lot of people that I have a lot of people on Facebook that I don't actually know, or I don't even know what they look like. Like I have no idea what they look like. I see their
Fair.
name on my newsfeed, and I know that they're in a band, or I know that they work for a label, or they're a part of a publication. And I like having my newsfeed full of music orientated people. Um, but at the time when I was like, oh hey man, what's up, and he came up to me and he was like, it's Ciro, like I'm your Facebook friend, and I'm like, in my head I'm like, okay, like sick, like nice to meet you. Like I was like, I'm not trying to be a dick. I have no idea who you are. Like I have no idea who you are. But it's like really nice to meet you. Like I'm down to hang out. Um, anyway, so he just like started talking, and like after he kind of got over the fact that like I wasn't intentionally trying to be like an asshat. Like literally just like don't know half the people I'm friends with on the internet, for better or for worse. We started hanging out, and he drove me one time to pick up a merch order, a Demon to Me merch order,
Oh my god.
and he drove me up there because I didn't have a car, and my license was suspended, and I had to borrow my mom's van to pick up. There's like a massive merch order, and I had to borrow my mom's van, but my mom wouldn't let me drive it. So I made a post, and I was like, "Hey, who wants to, road trip with me up to San Francisco or whatever to pick up this merch?" I can't drive, so I need someone to drive, but I can provide the vehicle and I can play you cool music on the way or whatever. And Cyril messaged me. This was a few weeks after we met at the show, and he's like, "Dude, I'll take you, whatever. Like, I'm down." And like, all the way up to picking up the merch order and all the way back, we just kind of talked about how he's a drummer and how he was into the band, and like the band that he was in was starting to slow down because everybody was going back and forth between like being motivated and working on different parts of their lives and
Hmm.
full-time jobs versus like starting families and having to have adult responsibilities and stuff. But he's like, dude, I want to do music, like I want to like be in a project that's really serious. And so I was like, cool, we have a tour in March, like, do you want to go? and and that the rest is history. Like he was like, yes, I will go on tour with you. He left his job at the lumberyard he was working at as a full-time job where he was making good money, and he ended up going on that tour with us. He came back. He started working as a server so that he could have more flexibility to continue to tour, and we've been best friends ever since. So that guy I didn't recognize at the show that ended up for some reason being willing to drive me to pick up a giant merch order for no reason in my mom's minivan, by the
There you
way.
go. In the mom's minivan. That's important to
Yeah,
the story.
yep. And now he's a full-time member. He's been here ever since, and me, him, and Julian have kind of been like the core uh, since I think March of 2016, I would say.
Yeah, because that was when I had found probably pretty close around to the time when I found out about you guys, and then kind of to segue into the next question is how did Brent become your manager? Because I don't know if that's out in the airwaves for people to find out, but I was just curious on maybe how that might have transpired.
Um, so Brent and I have been friends. Brent and Ian and I have been friends for, let's see, I think I was like 15 when I met them. I'm 27 now, so 12, like yeah, a little over 10 years, 12 years or so.
Yeah.
I played an acoustic show back at the venue, or it was a place called the Venue. I don't know why I keep talking to you like you're from here, like you know what the hell.
It's all right. You can talk to me like I'm from there.
I
I'll be like,
I
yeah, okay.
I played an acoustic show at like one of my first shows ever. I think it was like my second show ever. And Brent and Ian, before I the Mighty was a band, they had a two-man acoustic project called Breakpoint,
Yes.
which is why their earlier stuff has so much more like technique, like sort of like technical folkiness to it, where because they used to be a two-man acoustic project, and I think that sort of translated on their first record, which is the We Speak record. You can hear like
Yes.
a lot of that like sort of like more folky indie and less like proggy rock stuff that they ended up becoming later on. Um, anyway, so Breakpoint played that show, and we ended up talking at the show. We connected, and Brent and I have been friends ever since. So we spent a lot of time together, just like hanging out and playing music, and getting drunk and playing beer pong and stuff like that. Over the years, and he lives about 40 minutes north of where I live.
Okay.
And I've seen that band go from being a two-man acoustic project to them finding other members, to them putting out We Speak, to them putting out Karma, and getting signed to Equal Vision, and then going on tour with Coheed, who I knew has always been Brent's favorite band, and like it was just a sort of a crazy thing to sit and watch, and all the while I've been in, I was in different bands and trying to do this solo project thing and acoustic music, emo music, pop punk music, and nothing was really like settling and getting where it was supposed to. And I kind of needed the time to hone the songwriting skills and stuff anyway. But Brent was always there. He was always someone that I sent, new music to every time I
Hmm.
had something recorded, and he would do the same for me. I think that I remember the first time when they recorded Satori with Eric Ron.
Mhm.
I went up to his house. He had all the masters, and we drank a bottle of rum and sat in my Toyota Corolla and listened to the whole thing front to back. It was like this little tiny demo CD. Like it wasn't even like properly labeled.
Oh, that's
They didn't
nuts.
even have a name for the record yet. It was just like all the songs, right? And they had just gotten the masters back. Um, yeah, so stuff like that. Like that was our relationship. And then when Demon in Me came around, and like the music wasn't as like ear wrenching and awful as it was, like prior to this project. Like I don't even want to share any old music with you, but it's not something you want to hear anyway. Trust me. Songwriting finally started to come around, and like it started to be something that like he's like, okay, like I can like really get behind this, and I can understand it and feel it. And then when we released Choke and started finding getting some numbers, when we became independent, we left the really bad relationship we had with our label prior to releasing Choke. um, he started to show more and more interest, and then eventually he started to talk about how like he just wanted to start getting into band management, and that he was really interested in doing that. And then we kind of just like teetered between the idea for a while until last year. He's like, all right, let's pull the trigger on this. Like I want to, like, you guys are, you're getting pretty good, and I think that like I'm ready, and I'm at a point where like I want to start seriously considering band management. And I think that this is a perfect place to start because of where you are size wise as a band, and then where I am skill set wise as a manager. Those are pretty comparable places. And so it just ended up being kind of a cool fit that way. um, that's kind of how everything transpired with Brent.
That's
So
awesome. Yeah, because I know that I've met him on many occasions, and I can't tell you how many times I've been like, yo, man, let's do an interview and all that sort of stuff. And, like,
yeah,
it's been really cool. And it's been really cool to see your guys' group as a band, too, because I've been following it, like we've been talking about for a couple years now. And so to see you guys work together and see, like, him really be passionate about what you guys do, and vice versa. I think it's really cool to see that kind of connection, to see how integrated he is in your band. And again,
it's not fun to be a singer and have Brent Walsh as your manager, though. I
oh,
will
I'm
tell you.
sure.
I will tell you that. Like that's not something that is I think is ever going to be fun to do. But outside of that like minor detail, it's a pretty yeah we have a pretty good relationship. So
That's good. Well, I mean, I feel like, yeah, I mean, I might be speaking from a little bit of bias because, again, they're my favorite band. But I mean, you guys are close. I'll be honest with myself and
that's
admit you
nice.
guys are close. So,
That's very nice of you. Thank
you
you.
know,
Thank
Kyle,
you.
if you wanna slip me some 20s later,
Yeah.
whatever. It's there you
All
go.
that all that government quarantine money.
The quarantine money.
All that
But
Spotify streaming royalties. I'll throw
woo,
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
baby.
we're really
Well, you
rolling
should
it.
go. You should go spin Demon in Me on Spotify too. But anyway, the next question, Kyle, kind of leading into the next topic that we're going to be talking about, which is who you influenced by, who collectively is the band influenced by, but obviously more specifically you, since I have you on.
Yeah. I think that I really have a soft spot for like early to mid 2000s emo rock.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of my sweet spot for influence. I think that like I grew up when I started writing music, I was listening to a lot of bands like Census Fail and Brand New and Taking Back Sunday and Bayside and Say Anything and stuff like that. And then I started to get really into bands like Thrice and Manchester Orchestra, which are kind of like just the immediately following generation of like you know I don't know if that would be considered emo per se, but it's like kind of like rock, indie rock type stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
But it has like a heavier edge to it. That was always something that I really, really liked. And then you got the more new age stuff like the Balancing Composures and the Movements and bands like that, and bands like that, like Bayside, who have continued to put music out through all three or four of those eras. And
yeah,
they've continued to stay true to who they are, where they have this sort of like catchiness to them, but they have this like heavier edge to it also. But it's also like it's easy to digest because the songwriting is something that you're familiar with. It's that intro verse chorus type thing, and that's something that I just like writing that way. I like music that is that way. It's easy for me to follow and understand. It took me a long time to get into other stuff that wasn't written that way. Like I was super behind on like Circa Survive and Dance Gavin Dance and like the verb core bands of the world that are like
yeah.
verb core slash swan core slash post whatever. I was I was like really behind on that movement because like it was hard for me to digest the songwriting. It was like I couldn't tell where the chorus was, and I was like, this is weird. Like I want to be able to like sing this song. I don't like know what's happening. And that was like overwhelming for me because I was so shallow with what I was listening to because I was so particular about only listening to things that like influenced my own writing. And I was like super stubborn about that. But I would say like my biggest influences starting out and as of recently that have it stayed pretty consistent. It's the Manchester Orchestra, a lot of balance and composure, especially on the new stuff. I think people can hear a lot of balance on the new stuff that we have been putting out. And then Thrice is probably the number one band. I think Thrice is the perfect example of a band that can give you a little bit of everything no matter what you're into, if you're into hard rock or beautiful like sorry reverby stuff, or if you're into folky almost like dirty acoustic stuff, or even stuff that sounds epically major where it's almost like a worship song. There's a lot of different things they do stylistically while staying within the realms of who they are as a band, and I've always really really admired that, and that's something that I've wanted to sort of take into our records is having so many different types of like things going on sonically where it's like you don't really know what's going to happen on the next song, but it's going to sound like Demon in Me. Like even though it may not sound like the last song you just heard, something about it's going to make you realize that this is a Demon in Me song, even though it doesn't sound like the last Demon in Me song that I heard. And that's an influential piece that I got from bands like Thrice and Manchester Orchestra. And then, of course, Brand New was my favorite band in the entire world. That's a sensitive subject, obviously, with everything going on with them. I know they're canceled now and stuff, and I'm actively doing what I can to like not support the band, and it's hard to not listen to them. But I think it's something that I just had to do at some point where I had to make that decision. But prior to that stuff coming out about Jesse, they were up there too, top three for sure. So those are the types of bands that really influenced me. The bands that can hone in all these different types of music and somehow stay true to their identity, but it's not boring. It's the same song structure, but what makes it not boring and not repetitive is that they're doing it in all these different ways, and it's still them, but every song feels like it's fresh. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of repetitiveness, despite the structure of the song being, repetitive from track to track. So
yeah, no,
I hope that made sense.
no.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I feel like, and I always have, and I've said it in a few interviews currently, that like I always have this mental process of like, okay, when I have a band on, like I listen to their music, and I was even listening to your music prior to the interview, but I was listening to some of the stuff, and I was just trying to have this like mental thought of like, okay, who are some of the bands that he's influenced by, and can I particularly note them out? And one of the ones I was thinking of was balance and composure, especially with the more current stuff. I was like, yeah, there's a lot of balance and composure influence there. Thrice was another one that I could think of off the top of my head. And I would say another band that you didn't mention that I feel like you guys kind of have vibes for is Moose Blood. I don't know if you're familiar with them or not, but they to me that was another band that you didn't mention that I felt like in my head I was like wow, I haven't heard from Moose Blood in a while, but I don't care if I don't hear from him because I was like I have Demon in Me now, so that will replace them.
We really want to be like the new Brand New. Like we want to fill that void for all the people that can't listen to Brand New anymore. Like that's like it's kind of like what we're going for. But like Moose Blood is so influenced by Brand New, and you can really hear that in his writing. Like everything that they do musically is, especially their like older stuff in comparison to Brand New's older stuff. Like aside from the lyrical content, which I think Brand New in my opinion has a little bit of an edge on them in that way. And Moose Blood they're not trying to be lyrically complex. They're very very straightforward with the way that they write their lyrical content. That's how they do things stylistically, which is one of the reasons people like them so much, is because it's easy to understand and digest what's going on, and the storytelling is so simple to where like it's you don't have to dissect everything like you do with a Brand New song. But anyway, stylistically they're very influenced by Brand New, so I think that makes sense that you'd bring up Moose Blood in comparison to us. I think there is a connection between like the Brand New, and then down the tree you got like Moose Blood, Balance, stuff like that. Like all those bands are influenced by a certain era of Brand New. and by bands like Thrice and Manchester Orchestra and stuff like that. So I think that makes total sense.
Yeah, I also was gonna say brand new as well. I know that, like you were saying earlier, it's a very tumultuous topic that we
Yeah,
won't go further into. But I do also, that was another band that I feel like is a given for most people that check out your stuff. Like, yeah, definitely brand new as well.
yeah.
Because like I, for personal reasons, can't listen to brand new, but put a Demon in Me track on. That's about as is about within an nth degree of brand new. So
Right.
I'm
We're
proud of
we're
that.
hoping to get like somewhere close to that realm. Yeah, for sure.
There we go. Well,
So
the next question, Kyle, since most people checking this out may or may not be new to Demon and Me, but if the people speaking to the people that are new, what would be one track you would recommend to a new listener? Like if they're like, I'm watching this
oh,
interview, I like Kyle, I think he's dope, or I hate Kyle and I want to just talk shit about him, on
yeah,
the internet. What would be one song that you'd want people to listen to be like, yo, this is Demon and Me? Like,
it's probably that second one. Probably a lot of people that want to like talk shit, but
yeah.
uh, I think
I hope not.
uh,
I hope not. Don't talk shit about Kyle. I'll
I
come find
think
you.
I think the easy answer right now is the song that we have called Choke. I think that's the most popular song that we have. It has the best numbers. It was the only one that landed any sort of like a Spotify editorial playlist thing. And I would say it's a pretty good representation of the band as a whole. It's very driving. It's got its like feeling. It's got its heavier feeling parts of the song. The lyrical content is pretty heavy. It's a song about domestic violence,
Hmm.
and like most of our lyrics are pretty conceptually they're pretty heavy in general. Um, so I mean, I feel like that's the easy answer. That's like the probably the safest route to take. And I would probably tell them to listen to that song if it was a complete stranger. It's not my favorite song. It's not something like as a songwriter that like I have that like super cool like soft spot for us, but it's done a lot for the band and it's put us in a lot of really good positions and it's something that we never expected to take off as well as it did and we're very grateful that it did. And it's a song we all like. We love playing it live. We love sharing it. We love talking to people about it. Um, so that's probably the song I would direct people to first would be Choke. Um, but like as a songwriter and as somebody who knows where the direction of the band is going
Yeah.
with all the new releases that we do have coming up, I would probably just tell them to spin episode one, which is what we just released, is a three-song episode, and it's three of the 12 tracks that we have on a record that's done that's going to be coming out in full, this year. I think that White Room in particular on that EP on that episode is also a track that I would direct people to. So probably either Choke or White Room. Those are probably the two songs I would direct people to.
I would check out both of them. I did check out White Room. That one's phenomenal too. I want to say check out White Room because it's the most current one, and I feel like you guys would get a better representation about the band. But I also have to give the nod to Choke because it's also a really fantastic track too. So either choice, I feel like you're gonna come up a winner. So go check them out. But the next question, Kyle, keeping it more current. Who have you been jamming recently? What's on your Spotify? What have you been listening to lately?
Oh, I was like so ready for this question. Just saying.
There we go.
I've been listening to pretty much nothing but the new Boston Manor album
You're
for
right.
like 2 weeks straight. Um, and I love that band. I think that they are super underrated. I think
100%.
that more people who do like the type of music that I like, which is that like brand new Thricey sort of weird, rocky, lyrically heavy type stuff, like that's like the perfect modern band to listen to because they utilize so many different types of modern music, but it still gives you that sort of like mid 2000s emo feel. Like I can tell that whoever writes most of their music is super influenced by Brand New. Like I can tell that they love that band, but I can also tell that they love bands like The Neighborhood and that they
Yeah.
love bands like Deftones and that they love bands, like Radiohead. Like it's got this sort of really, really unique but familiar feeling to it. It's just I like cannot praise that band enough. especially for their last two records, which are Welcome to the Neighborhood, and then this
Yeah.
one they just released is called Glue. Um, it's remarkable to me, and like the production is just it's mind blowing. And I think Mike Sapone did both of those records. I know he did Welcome to the Neighborhood. I got to
Yeah.
double check on if he did Glue or not. But
I'll look it up.
Mike Sapone is known for Taking Back Sunday and Brand New. Like he recorded The Devil and God, and he recorded their most brand newest, most recent record, Science Fiction. I think he did Daisy as well. So it makes sense that the production like really stood out to me, and there was a lot of elements about not just the songwriting, but the way that things are presented sonically are just super unique, and it kind of caught me in a trance. Haven't really been able to listen to a whole lot of other things aside from that record. But yeah, I've been jamming the new Dead Lakes too. They're
Oh
buddies of mine.
yes.
They just signed to Sharptone Records, and they're from the Pacific Northwest, up in the Seattle area. And we've been friends with them for years, and I've
Hmm.
been just hammering away at Sumner, their vocalist, like, dude, you guys are gonna get like huge someday. Like, just don't stop. And he was such a sweetheart. He's such a timid guy, and he's so like, well, I don't know, like I love doing it, like hopefully the best thing happens, we'll see, blah blah blah, whatever. And I'm like, dude, no, shut the fuck up. Like your band is so good. Like you don't understand like how good your band is. I just like continually hype them up for years, and then they just came out of nowhere 3 or 4 weeks ago and announced that they were signed to Sharptone and they had recorded an EP with Eric Ron, and I was like, okay, like
It's over.
congratulations, but like I told you, like I did tell you it was gonna happen, like so I'm listening to that a lot too. I like their music, and they're really nice guys, so I'm gonna give them a shout out too.
I couldn't find out whether Glue or not was written by produced by Mike Sapone, but you were correct on the Welcome to the Neighborhood. Mike Sapone did that. So shout out to Mike Sapone if you want to come on. I'd like to have you talk on the other thing, but not to plug my own thing, but
I would like for you to have them too.
Mike Sapone, come on, definitely.
Yeah, he's the man. He's probably in my top three producers. That if I had to pick, three producers in the entire world, he's probably in the top three for me.
Wow.
Sure,
Well,
yeah.
you might have answered a question I might be asking in the future. So very, forethought, a little forethought like that. But yes, I will also piggyback on checking out Boston Manor. Please go check them out. Underrated band from the UK. Fantastic. I've been following them pretty early on too, even before Welcome to the Neighborhood. Great band. UK is always killing it with some fantastic bands. Also, Dead Lakes. They put out an EP. Also awesome. So Kyle 2 for 2 on the
Nice,
recommended
nice.
checklist. Go check them out.
Got the
But also go
approval.
check out Demon and Me. I gotta keep
But
plugging it.
whatever. I mean, it
It's
doesn't matter. Whatever
listen.
you like.
Kyle's on here. I gotta give him the plugs. So go check out Demon and Me. But I also have something funny because I know you're good friends with our friend Dan from the home team.
Oh yeah,
I know you give him shit all the time. So
yeah,
shout outs to Dan. I know you guys talk a lot of shit on the internet, so it's hilarious. I just figured
yeah.
that was a complete sidebar, but you guys are great. So
They're like our best friend band. We have
they
a
are.
we have a group chat with the home team where it's like Demon and me and the home team, and we send each other new music, and like you said, kind of like talk shit back and forth, and we've toured with them a couple times, and we play their CD release show. We like drove up to Seattle just to play their CD release show because we wouldn't do that for any other band. And actually, Dead Lakes played that show too, which is kind of cool. But yeah, they're phenomenal too. They signed to Revival, I think back
Yes,
in 2018, I think, when they put
2018.
out
Yep.
their full
Better
length
off.
record, which has like this like super cool vibe to it. It's like
Yeah.
pop punk, but like better,
Yes.
but like it's like pop punk, but like not bad. And it's got Panic at the Disco vibes. It's got like a darker
Yeah.
vibe. It's got like this really mature sounding pop punk vibe where it's like it is pop punky, but it's got this like cool pop rock edge to it. And they've really really solidified themselves as good songwriters as a group. Like that is a band that when you listen to them, like you can tell that everybody brings an element to the table. And there are bands that you listen to where like there's one guy, like there's one guy writing all the music and everybody else is writing around that person. And the home team is a band that when you listen to them, you can tell like all five of them bring in their own unique element to the songs, and I think that's what makes them such a powerful group and what makes them such a good band like as a whole. Um, so anyway,
Took
That's
the words
about
right.
that's about as much of nice things that I'm willing to say about that band. You know.
Well, I will also piggyback that they are good homies of the channel. Love the home team. Anytime I can give them a shout, I do. But all I'm saying that's a slick plug to say that I'm waiting for Demon and Me home team Dead Lakes tour,
That
full
would be
U.S.
great.
tour.
That would be great.
I'm gonna put that out there. Sharp Tone. I know you watch my stuff because you send me some stuff. So shouts to you guys. But
Absolutely.
I know this has to happen. I feel like if I could use my internet clout for anything, that is what I would want to. I would want to cash my chips in for a Demon and Me home team Dead Lakes tour.
That would be a dream come true with Eye Mighty headlining.
Oof.
That would be
I'm
the ultimate tour. I think.
Listen, I don't know who's watching this that can make this happen, but this needs to happen. I don't know. That's just me. I'm one person
Yeah,
on the internet. I mean,
yeah.
I have 1,700 subscribers, so I feel like I have a little bit of reach here and there. But yeah, like that needs to happen for sure. So, but the next question, Kyle, another fun one. If you guys could pick a song to cover, what would it be?
So the only that's a tough question. The only this is a sensitive subject for me, and you're really good at asking questions that I have to like challenge myself, so I answer them in a way that don't make me come off like a complete asshole. But we did one cover. We have a cover of Hallelujah, which is
Which is
Leonard the
fantastic.
Leonard Cohen song. And it's a thank you. It's a song that like I really really enjoy, and I think that it's a song that's been covered many times, and it doesn't really matter how it's done. Like the song stays true to how powerful and good it is in terms of
Mm-hmm.
the writing, and he's 60 or 70 years old now, I think, and it's like still to this day like a song that people really enjoy listening to in a lot of different styles. People are still covering it, and us included. But when it comes to covering songs, um, I'm not a fan of covers in general. Personally, I don't mind when
Yeah.
other bands do it or other artists do it. It doesn't bother me. But to me, if I'm gonna cover a song, it has to be something that is a timeless song. It has to be something that, like, I don't want to capitalize on like a lot of bands do that thing where like a really popular pop song comes out, or like a rap artist, or like they cover Post Malone or
Yeah.
Halsey or
Yeah.
something, and it's smart. They're capitalizing on the market, right? And that's what's popular right now, and people are gonna listen to it. But it's a very very quick. It's sort of like a cash grabby type thing where it's
Yeah.
like you're capitalizing on what's popular right now, but like that's going to be a part of your catalog forever, and like 15 years from now, Hallelujah, in my opinion, is still going to be a song people want to listen to. And you may get 10, 15, 20,000 extra monthly listeners on Spotify by doing the Our Last Night thing and like covering whatever song is super popular at the time. But to me, it's not like a timeless element that I want to be a part of our catalog. Like if I'm going to cover a song, it has to be something that I feel like is so powerful that like it's going to like stand the test of time. Because like I said, I'm not personally super into doing covers, and I'm a self-taught musician. I never took a lesson. I never took a singing lesson or a guitar lesson. And so like for me, when I was learning how to play guitar, like I didn't like learning other people's songs. I liked playing with sounds and like learning what sounded good to me and like writing my own material. So I'm like the worst person to have at a campfire because I'm just gonna play you a bunch of Demon Me songs, you know. Like I literally do not know how to play anything other than like there's like a couple Taylor Swift songs that I know, and then like I
To
messed
appease the
around with
masses.
like during quarantine I was bored. Yeah, so I did like a Miserable at Best, like a live cover of Miserable at Best, which is like an emo classic or whatever.
Yeah.
But the only time I've ever sat down and like learned other songs was when we had to play emo nights, and that was fun. Like it's a fun opportunity, and it's like cool to like play other people's songs. But I don't know, it's just something that like I feel like those like as a writer, like your songs are your songs, and like even if somebody who is like drastically more talented than you decides to play your song, like in my opinion, like it's never going to be the same as the person who wrote it because it's such a personal thing.
Yeah.
Um, and that's probably why I have my reservations with covering music is I really just don't want to like murder it, like I don't want to like like take that away from the songwriter. Like even if people think it's good or like decent or like okay, like it's still not mine. And
Yeah.
that's what I love so much about music is I love feeling like it's something that I created myself. And it's expression, it's getting things out of me, and that's what I really really value about being a songwriter and being a performer. So I didn't even answer your question. That's good. I think, okay, if I had to pick one song to cover, I'm gonna break away. I think I'm gonna break away from my normal sort of like dismal, melancholy vibe, like this whole like sad, depressing minor stuff. And I think if I were to cover one song, it would be "Smooth" by Rob Thomas featuring Santana. No, "Smooth" by Santana featuring
Featuring
Rob
Rob
Thomas.
Thomas.
I think that's the song that I would probably cover. Uh, just because if I'm gonna break out of this sad bullshit that Demon in Me is writing all the time, I'm gonna want to do something a little bit fun, you know. So I
I'm
would
all on
probably,
board with that. I am all on
it
board
would
with
probably
that.
be like yeah, it would probably be something fun like that, or like a Third Eye Blind song, or something that's like super major and like upbeat and something that I don't normally get to play. I think that's probably the route that I would take.
I have to give you credit where credit is due. I do appreciate your opinion on cover songs because I didn't want to mention our last night, but you did it for me, so now I can talk about it. But I agree. Like sometimes I check out like an our last night thing, and I'm just like, people are gonna check it out because it's an our last
Yeah,
night song. You know what I mean?
right.
And there's nothing wrong with that, and they do what they do because they do it. Um, but I think if I was a musician, I wouldn't want to like. I mean, as much as I like asking the question, I don't feel like for me, like I'd only do it for like the aspect of like I want to learn how to like kind of improve my vocals or something like that. And there's,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. There's an aspect to that, but I agree with you on the like cash grab thing, like, and that's why I appreciate the like Hallelujah cover because I know like you guys did a bang up job on that cover, like not to discredit your like material of like what you actually write of original music because I really enjoy that as well. But I think it's on the same level. It doesn't feel like oh my god, like they're just doing this because they're doing a cover. Like they're like oh because it's Hallelujah. Like everybody does a cover of that. Like whatever, right?
Yeah.
I feel like you guys put as much effort into doing that as you do with the original music. So I feel like for myself, like it didn't feel like a cop out. It was just like, wow, they took their time to really put it together, like arrange it the way that
Oh,
they did, and it was
hold on.
intelligent. Is the battery gonna die, Kyle?
No, the battery's fine. I thought my internet was going out, but I think we're good.
Okay, cool. But yeah, no, I feel like I appreciate what you do as an artist and stuff like that. But I have to give the cosign to the Santana Rob Thomas or Third Eye Blind track. My personal preference for a Third Eye Blind track, Semi Charmed Life. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah.
I know that's the classic, and I know that would be just an obvious pick, but such a great song, so I feel
Yeah.
like that would be my vibe. And usually this is the point where I tell people to leave a comment on what song DM and me should cover, but you don't do that because Kyle's not going to cover it. So
I'll consider it. Just leave the comments anyway. It's fine. I don't want to disrupt the process of the show.
no,
But
it's not a
yeah,
process, but I appreciate your feedback, and you should everybody in the comments should tell Kyle that he is not disrupting his musical credibility as an artist by writing a lot more original music and not doing covers. So tell Kyle that he's not a sellout in the comments below because he's not. So shouts to Kyle. But the next question would be another fun one, which I think you won't have an issue answering. Hopefully, fingers crossed. What is your favorite food to eat? What's the go-to?
oh God, I'm a child. Uh, I'm a child. You probably get so many cool answers to this question.
No,
Like easy,
I could get it. I could get
easy, like all
anywhere.
this other stuff. I'm super basic. I'm very Italian, so I like anything that's Italian food. I like all types of pasta. I like all types of, white sauces, marinara sauces, anything that has to do with Italy. Pizza, obviously. But yeah, probably anything Italian. You put anything Italian in front of me, and I'm into it. So that's probably my go-to food. So, um,
There we go.
Yeah,
That's
not the
awesome.
most exciting answer, but that's
No,
that's
that
what I
is
like.
totally
That's
cool.
what I like to eat.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
feel like I always like asking that question because it's just like interesting to me what people enjoy eating. I don't know. That might just be a fucking weird way of explaining it, but I don't know. It's something about, I don't know. I'm a big foodie too, excluding, what I do here at Audio Addiction. There's a lot of things I enjoy, but food is definitely something I enjoy cooking and making. So, whenever somebody says something interesting, Italian food, love Italian food. So I gotta, give you credit for that. But the next question, Kyle, which you may have already kind of low key answered, what would be one person you'd want to have on as a guest feature or a producer you'd like to work with in the future?
Um, I want to do a song with Corey. Him and I have been talking about doing a song
Oof,
together for a long time.
please.
Um, I think that we actually originally planned to have Corey sing on White Room, and then that the plans kind of fell through. He had some like last minute tours that came up and some other things that just kind of got in the way, and then we ended up just moving on without him. But I think that we've been talking about doing music together for a long time, like years, and so that's like the most probably realistic person that you'll probably see a feature or a collaboration with, or Brent. Would Brent and I doing a song together, I think would be really fantastic too. But I don't know if I want to sing on the same song as Brent. I don't know. That might be like the end of my career.
I don't
I might
think
want to put
so.
someone
You
who's
could you could hold
like,
up. Like I said, you're on the same.
like
You're
not
on
as good.
equal playing fields. You're not gonna. You wouldn't hurt my feelings. I would be all about that. I'd be on
He's,
board with it.
he's, he's pretty outstanding with how well he can do everything that has to do with music. But um, yeah, so Corey or Brent, probably the most realistic answers. I think like if I had to choose like an unrealistic answer, like if
There
I
you
could just
go.
pick anybody in the world, it'd probably be Dustin from Thrice, or Andy Hull from Manchester Orchestra. I think those are my top two like unrealistic people. Maybe someday. Who knows? It could happen someday. But um, so yeah, that's kind of a two dimensional answer. But and then producer Mike Sapone he's probably number one. He's probably like the number one guy. Just seeing what he's done with all these records that are my favorite records. Like if I were to list like my top 10 favorite records, which I don't have prepared, so don't ask me that question. But if I were to, I'm sure Mike Sapone's name would be on 50% or more of them, and I think that he gets what I like. And then Will Yip is another one who
Ooh,
did
yeah.
like movements and Balance of Composure and Citizen, who was another huge influence of mine. I don't know how I went this entire time without talking about Citizen. Um, and so yeah, Mike Sapone, Will Yip, and then I don't know. I don't know who else I'd like to work with. I maybe one of like the super super big guys like John Feldman. Just for the experience, like just for the experience, just to be able to say like I worked with John Feldman. It's not that I'm super like in love with his production. It's phenomenal. He's obviously one of the best producers in the world. Um, in that, I think just being able to say that you worked with somebody who's like legendary like that, like him or David Bendeth or something like that, I think would
Hmm.
be a really really unique experience. So probably that's probably I'll cap it. I'll cap it at three or four right there. That should be enough.
Mike Sapone's number one though.
Yeah,
Mike Sapone, you already
I
heard it
think
here.
so.
We
Yeah.
talked about
I
you.
think that's how you say it. I hope it's not like Sapone or like Saponi or I don't know.
I don't know. I
It's
said it
Sapone.
wrong too. So Mike Sapone or
Hopefully
Sapone,
that's how
or
you say
if you want
it.
to come on and tell us how you pronunciate your last name, that would be greatly appreciated. But you
That
should
would
also
be
just come
sweet.
on and work out with Demon and me. But
Yeah.
Audio Addiction fam, if you want to hear some Andy Hull or some Dustin Kensrew on some Demon and me, make sure to add them on Twitter. We're gonna be doing it on when this video
Sure.
goes live. So
Yeah.
if there's any opportunity that you want to hear any of this shit happen, at them on Twitter,
Yeah.
because that's how we're trying to bring people together here at Audio Addiction, and we want to make dreams happen. I want to try to be like the Walt Disney of the music world. So if we can make the dreams happen, chef's kiss, baby. Let's get it. Let's get it
That would be
rocking.
great.
There
That'd
we
be
go.
great.
Next question, Kyle. You play guitar, you do the vocals. If there was another musical instrument you could master, what would it be?
My first instrument was saxophone. Most people don't know that.
Well, there you go.
If I think, I don't know if that's actually not the answer. That has nothing to do with what you asked. I thought I was gonna pull this, like I might want to go back and remaster saxophone, but I like, don't really have a lot of interest in doing that. Um, probably drums. I think drums are so fun. I think that you can be a really good drummer, but like the best drummers are the ones who find ways to be creative with the way that they write. And I think that it's so much easier to cop out as a drummer, which is what makes it such a more powerful instrument when you have a good drummer. I think that the amount of variety that you can provide from a guitar and from a bass and from a vocals standpoint and from a keyboard standpoint, from all the other instruments that you see in the bands that play our style of music,
Hmm.
there's a lot of variation that you can give people through those instruments, especially through pedals and effects and things like that. But drums are challenging in that aspect, to where like it's really hard to continually write unique beats or unique fills, or not fall into like these like habitual patterns as a drummer. And
Hmm.
I think all of my favorite drummers are my favorite drummers for that reason. They just continue to find ways to be super creative, and they have a unique style to the way that they play. And I think that challenge alone is probably enough for me to say that I think drums is probably the instrument that I would choose.
Good choice. I feel like, again, I'm like 100 for 100 on people that play guitar and want to play drums, myself included.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I think it's because our hand feet coordination is just not right. And so,
Oh,
I
I'm
think that's the
terrible.
vibe. That's the vibe. You know what I mean? I feel like most people that play guitar can't play drums for that reason. And if you
Yeah,
can,
but like every drummer can play guitar. It's so
yeah,
fucking annoying.
it's
It's so
annoying.
annoying. Like
I
why?
don't know
Like why?
why
We're
drummers. Why do you
already
guys
good
do
at
this?
drums. I'm pretty sure Ciro is the best guitarist in our band, which is like super annoying. But yeah, he's such a talented drummer, and he has written leads for this record that we have coming out. Like he has written leads on certain songs that have stuck, and he has written, helped me like solidify certain progressions, and like found unique chords, and like solidified song structure, and of course he's good at like recording and mixing, and he's good at video games, and he can like do a Rubik's cube in 60 seconds, and like actually probably way less than that. I think he can do it under 30 seconds. But like he's like one of those guys, like he just picked up drawing super randomly like 2 weeks ago, and now he's like literally like the most incredible drawings I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like why are you not bad at anything? This is like really like not chill, like.
It's
But
not chill for me either. I'm
yeah,
a little upset, and I don't even know
yeah.
Sarah that well. So,
He should be the one on here, man. He's the one who's good at everything. Yeah,
nah, we have Kyle on here. We got to give Kyle the love. So make sure to leave some heart reacts for Kyle down below, because I know I appreciate Kyle. Sarah, you're cool. Kyle, I think you're just
you
slightly
gotta
ahead of
do
Sarah.
you gotta do like a follow up though with
We
him.
will. We will.
He can show you all his Rubik's cube tricks. He can show you
I
all of his
know.
cool drawings and everything. He can do like a little like live stream logic session to show you all the millions of things he's good at. But yeah, he's pretty outstanding at a lot of different things. So
There we go. Shout outs
yeah,
to Zero.
yeah,
But
yeah. Shout out to Sarah.
there we go. Next question. You kind of alluded to it, which is my personal favorite question because I am a nerd and I love asking it. If you could be a video game character, Kyle, who would you be?
Crash Bandicoot.
Wow, that was
100%.
immediate, off the
100%.
rip.
Yeah, Crash Bandicoot or Sonic, like one of the two. One of the two. I'm
There
cool
we
with either
go.
one. Yeah, but probably Crash. I think I just grew up playing Crash, and like I'm not a big gamer. I think that when I grew up, I was like super into like the old Sega games and the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 era games. I really like Tony Hawk's Underground and stuff like that, and Crash Bandicoot and Sonic and stuff that's the original Super Smash Brothers. But I never got into like Call of Duty or like Assassin's Creed or like all these like kind of like newer like sweet graphics like first player shooter or adventure games. I never got into Skyrim or anything like that, Fortnite. But yeah, Crash Bandicoot for sure.
You don't have to tell me. I'm a retro head. I love Pokemon, which is my personal
Yeah,
favorite game.
Pokemon
Uh,
Stadium, dude, for Nintendo 64. Remember
don't
that
even
game? That
that
game
game.
was hella fun.
Still one of the best games. You can fight me about that. I don't care in the comments. It's one of the best
It's a
games
great
still.
game.
I don't know. I'm biased because I'm a Pokemon lover, but we'll move it
Yeah, like
on.
that guy who only knows the original 151 Pokemon. Like I don't know anything after the original. Like I just never. It was like it was too overwhelming. I was like I just learned all these Pokemon. Like I just beat my red version or whatever it was. I'm like 10 years old, and they're like, "Oh, hey, surprise! Here's like 2,000 more Pokemon we're gonna throw at you." And here's like Diamond version and Crystal version and Emerald version. I'm like, all right, I'm cool. I'm good. I'm
Fair.
gonna stick with the original three, the red, yellow, and blue. Those are the versions that I know and love. So, but I do like Pokemon a lot, so I'm with you on that.
Fair. I've
Yeah.
followed it throughout the years, so I am the diehard, the ride or dyer. I picked up the new game, so Nintendo, if you want to sponsor me, if you want to send Kyle a Switch, I'm just saying, we're
Yeah,
out
maybe
here.
if I had a Switch, I'd be able to keep up with all these new
Yeah, I
Pokemon.
think that's the true reasoning. You know what I mean? Like if you want Kyle to be promoting your brand new console that has been out for a couple, if you want to
Yeah,
be able to just promote, Nintendo as a brand, I feel like I'd be a pretty good ambassador for it, and I think Kyle would be too. So I really want to get Kyle that Switch, so he can experience the new Pokemon game. So
definitely.
if you want Nintendo, I don't know if you watch my stuff. I feel like you do. Please sponsor us both. I'm not.
Um,
I'm not. The totem pole has been lowered for me to talk about sponsorships, so I don't really care. Whoever wants to sponsor me, feel free to. But
Sign me up.
the next question, Kyle, getting back to the music stuff, if you were to compile a dream tour lineup, who would be on it? Obviously, your band would be
No,
included. I feel like that's
no,
necessary.
my band would not be
No,
included.
absolutely, Kyle.
My,
You're a good vocalist.
I
Demon
think
Needs Sick.
I think, well, first of all, thank you. That's
You're,
very nice of you. I think the reason why I wouldn't want my band to be included is because I would want to watch.
oh,
Like I
okay.
would want to watch like from the crowd. I think that it's so much different seeing a band from the crowd and hearing everything at full volume. Um, and I think when you're on a tour, like you kind of get. I mean, you can go out in the crowd and watch, but you get lazy and you watch from side stage every night. It's a different experience. And I don't want to know how they do all that cool stuff. Like if I'm on the tour, like, and I know, like, I'm gonna use Brand New as an example. Forgive me, I know they're canceled, but like they did this thing where they had this video wall come in front of them, and they had all this cool like projection stuff going on during their set on their last tour, on the science fiction tour. And like I don't want to know how they do that. I want to experience that and be like, how the fuck do they do that? Like that's sick. Like, and that's kind of what I would want to experience like in a dream tour. So I would say like my dream tour lineup would be Thrice, Manchester Orchestra, and probably like Jimmy Eat World. Probably one, yeah. And if I had to add like a fourth band, it would be specifically just to kind of like honor the up and coming small guys. I'm sure there's another huge band that I would love to see on that tour, but I think that the opener should be someone who I think deserves that type of opportunity, and I think I
Mhm.
would be like a Boston Manor or like a Citizen. Probably one of those two bands. I think is one of the bands that I would choose. Um, yeah, I don't. There's so many good bands. I mean, there's so many bands that I would like to see tour with each other, but those three bands in particular, the first three that I mentioned, I think that those are the biggest and most incredible sounding live bands that I've ever seen, and I've seen them all in different scenarios at different stages of their careers, and I would just like to see them all now with where they're at now. With their entire discography, they're each like many many albums deep.
Mhm.
Thrice and Jimmy Eat World probably have 25 albums between them. You know, and Manchester is still to this day the biggest sounding band I've ever heard. So that's I think that's probably the lineup that I would roll with for that question.
That's tight. I'm all about that. Kyle's tour was great, and I do have to kind of tangent off of the Thrice thing. I had seen them more currently while they were on tour. Circa, it was like Circa, Thrice,
Oh yeah,
Balance and
down
Composure,
on
and
that
Chon
too.
and
Yeah,
Chon. And that was such a
yeah.
great lineup. And I had never seen Thrice before, and I've been a fan of them for like years. And I don't know, for some reason I was just like the tour lineup didn't make sense to me, or like maybe I just wasn't interested in it or something like that. But I had seen them with Circa, and I was just blown away. So anytime that they come through, I definitely would love to catch them. I know and don't tour too frequently,
Yeah, they're
um,
all dads.
but they're all dads. You know,
Yeah.
respect to that.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to see them again whenever they come through. So Thrice, guys are great. Got to give them a shout out. But the next question, Kyle, to kind of follow up the Dream Tour lineup you created, in your opinion, who puts on a great live performance? I know you talked about Manchester Orchestra, but who else puts on a great live performance?
You know who's really good that is like significantly less famous than they should be is the Early November.
Oh
I
yes.
think that I think that their live performance and their ability to replicate the way that their records sound in a live setting that's first of all it's a super underrated talent, and people do not realize how hard it is to replicate things sonically in a live setting and build something from nothing. And anytime a band does something like that without using like an eccentric amount of like backtracking or fake instruments, it's just so impressive to me because I know how hard it is to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We've never used backtracks, and we don't even play to a click live. Like everything we do is like we plug in and we play like it's just like plug and play rock and roll style, and we work super hard to replicate a certain vibe and a certain sound live, and that's I think that's why it's so impressive to me when I see a band. Jimmy Eat World's the same way. Like they don't use a lot of tracks. Like
Yeah.
they just come out and they just crush it, and he's on pitch. They have a great energy. They sound huge. Manchester sounds huge. Thrice sounds huge. Um, but like I think stage presence wise, let's see if I can think of a band like stage presence. They're just specifically stage presence. Um, I really really liked of Mice and Men when I saw them live,
Oh, nice. Yeah.
and it's a little out of pocket for me because that style of music is not a style of music that I follow and listen to very often.
Mm-hmm.
But Mice and Men and Asking Alexandria, both of them, I saw them at South by So What, like I don't know, 6 years ago or 7 years ago or something,
Okay.
and I was just really impressed with just how good they sounded. They just sounded really like on point, and I like expected them to be sloppy, because I've seen a lot of metalcore bands. I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to go on record saying anything negative about any metalcore band, but this it's a sloppy live genre, and it's because it's not supposed to be pristine. It's supposed to be like fun and high energy, head banging. It doesn't matter if everyone's chugs are perfectly on point with each other. Like people are just going crazy in the crowd, and they just want like a fun live show with lots of energy and that like heavy emotion. And I respect that for sure. But I think that of Mice and Men and Asking Alexandria, especially from like a clean vocal standpoint,
Mm.
which is usually the weakest part of a post-hardcore band's live performance, is their singer is almost always bad for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know
Okay.
why. So probably like they probably stage presence wise were pretty interesting to watch, and they were also very tight with each other. And like August Burns Red is incredible. Under Oath is incredible.
Yeah.
So actually, you know what? Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about because now I'm listing all these metalcore bands that are just like really good live. So maybe everything I just said is completely incorrect. Maybe I'm just thinking of like two bands I saw once that were not good. But yeah, like the Under Oath, August Burns Red, Asking Alexandria, Mice and Men, like all those like pioneers of the metalcore scene. Like they put on a good live show, and I think that's why they've been able to remain on top and why they've been able to stay, you know, where they are. So I think that's again like a 3 or 4 dimensional answer, but hopefully that's the
No.
answer, good enough answer.
On
Yeah.
point. On point. I can definitely back the of Mice and Men uh thing. I remember seeing them with like it was a while ago. And then I've seen them more currently, but the time I can remember seeing them like more vividly was I think they were on tour with A Day to Remember.
Yeah.
They were like opening, they were second slot, and they're just. I mean, I saw them before Austin had left, and that was such a fantastic experience. And then obviously being blessed by August Burns Red, living really close to Philadelphia, and seeing them
Yeah.
as a band kind of just like explode, and obviously being just such a massive fan of the band in general. Yeah, I can totally attest to seeing them more times than I can remember, and just being blown away by their live performance every single time. They're just, again, a
They're
band I can
flawless.
back. Yeah, they're
They're
flawless.
they're just like a flawless band live, and they're just They're too good at music. They're just like really, really, really talented people. And Alan from Of Mice and Men is from my hometown. He's from San Jose. And we
Nice.
went to the same high school. We were pretty good friends growing up. We had like bands together and stuff, and we played music together. And um, I remember when he met Austin. I remember where he met Austin. He met him at the mall, which was like 2 minutes away from where we spent a lot of our time. He was funny story about Austin, or not Austin. Alan and I was the girl that I was dating in high school. Her best friend was dating Alan at the time, so we would go on double dates and hang out constantly all the time. And then he met Austin. They started writing together, and then he joined Of Mice and Men, and now he's in this like super cool, famous, awesome band. So I'm not just plugging them because of that reason, but it's just kind of a cool little story that I like to tell people about too, because that's hometown represent type thing, kind of cool.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. Well, shouts to Mice and Men. If you ever want to come on, that would be an honor, absolutely. But the next question, Kyle, getting out of the music stuff and into more some fun stuff as well. Favorite TV show, favorite movie?
Oh wow. Oh man, so heavy. Okay, I really like psychological thrillers.
Okay,
I
I'm
like
in the same boat.
anything that like makes me think and is super twisted. I like I really like the Saw movies, and I like Donnie Darko, and
Yeah.
I like movies like Memento and Inception and stuff like that. Like they just movies that kind of like mess with your head a little bit and make you think a lot. But I think if I had to pick like a favorite, let's do TV show first. That's gonna be easier. My favorite TV show of all time is definitely Lost, for sure.
Oh,
I've, wa-
classic.
I've watched Lost like 15 times front to back, and it gets a lot of heat for the ending, and I think people don't really understand how the show ended, and everyone thinks they were like, like dead the whole time or whatever. Sorry, spoiler alert if anybody is lost. That's not true. They weren't dead the whole time, and if anyone's watching this and you think that they were dead the whole time, and that's why you didn't like the ending of the show or you hated the show because of that, feel free to hit me up, and I will educate you and tell you exactly how the end of that show was originally supposed to be perceived. Um, because that's why that show gets a lot of flack. But it's just brilliant writing and just really good acting. And it came out before cinematography was at its peak. Like it was like early 2000s, and like
Yeah.
so much has happened in cinematography since then, to where like if they were to shoot that show now, it would just be mind blowing. And the fact that it was so good even back then, I think is a testament to how powerful the show is. Um, so probably Lost, and I like Ozark a lot. I just
Yeah.
finished. Actually, I have a few episodes left of season 3. I really like that show. Breaking Bad was pretty good. More more into Ozark than Breaking Bad. They're very similar shows, but I like the darker vibe and like the editing on Ozark and stuff because it's more up my alley with the whole melancholy, sad-looking, dark, dismal, anything like that. I'm like super into all that stuff. Um, then there's another show on Netflix that I really like. It's a German show. It's called Dark. It's a Netflix original. Um, and that show is kind of like a mix between like Donnie Darko and Stranger Things. It's like kind of like
Okay.
this really cool sort of like there's like time travel involved, and there's all these like a million different characters and family ties and history of the town, and things reoccurring after a certain amount of time. It's very twisty and fun, and it's you kind of have to like draw a diagram after every episode to make sure you're understanding everything correctly. But it was shot in German, so you have to be down with subtitles or like English overdubs, and they're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
they're not terrible English overdubs, but their mouth does not match the words if you're watching it in English. So just be prepared for that. But I highly recommend that show. That's a really really good show. Movie Donnie Darko is probably my favorite movie. I like Donnie Darko a lot, and I like Fight Club a lot.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm a sucker for the Kingsman movies too, which is like
Oh,
a
yeah.
little bit
Okay. Yeah.
off brand for me, I guess. But like I love that stuff. Like I love that. I know it's not Tarantino, but like I love the quirky sort of like actiony, like relatively like not like gory, but like there's a lot of blood and like cool
Yeah.
fight scenes, but it's still like funny and entertaining. And it's edited in like this fun like bright way. It's very colorful, and it makes you laugh, but it's also like, oh, that was sick. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's so cool. So I like any movies like that. So anything by like Tarantino or that's like in the same neighborhood of like a Kingsman style esque type of movie. I'm very very into stuff like that.
There we go. You got some great picks. I can totally back the Lost thing. I love Lost too. So I gotta give a shout out to that too. Um, but the next question, Kyle, if you're trapped on a desert island, ironically enough, or under a month of quarantine, what would be one record you'd bring with you?
I've thought about this so many times.
There you go. Now it's time to let the people know.
I can't answer this question because I'm going to get crucified.
It's a
It's definitely
month.
God.
It's not a.
It's,
It's not a
it's definitely
year.
God.
It's not
It's
all
for sure.
time.
It's for sure Devil and God. Like I know Brand New's canceled. I know that I'm not supposed to be listening to them. I do not support him as a person. I do not support his actions. But if I'm never going to see anybody ever again, and I'm trapped on a desert island, and I'm going to like die there, and I have one record to listen to for the rest of my life, it has to be Devil and God. That album absolutely changed everything I know about songwriting. It changed everything I know about production. It changed everything I know about writing lyrics. Front to back is an absolute masterpiece. And if someone were to come up to me and be like, "Hey, I'm like gonna shoot you in the head if you don't choose a different record," then I will choose a different record just for that reason. Um, but that's for sure. I mean, that's the record I would pick, and that's just like me being super honest and transparent. And I hope that people don't get mad about that. Um, outside of that, it'd probably be a Bright Eyes album.
Ooh,
I think
okay.
Bright Eyes. Like, I think Connor Oberst is like just someone I could listen to for the rest of my life. I think that I'm Wide Awake It's Morning or The People's Key are probably the top two that I would take. But anything by Connor, even his solo stuff, like anything by Connor Oberst is. I could listen to Connor Oberst, I think, for the rest of my life for sure.
There we go. Well, I didn't say for the rest of your life. I said for a month, but I'm glad you
Oh,
took
for a
it to.
month.
I'm glad you took it
And
to
take
that level.
everything I said about Devil and God, throw it out the window because that's not. I don't like it that much. It's not. Yeah, it's whatever. Uh, okay, for sure. Yeah, something. Yeah, Connor Oberst record then for sure.
There you go.
Any Bright Eyes record. You put any Bright Eyes or Connor Oberst record in front of me, I'll listen to it for a month straight for sure.
There we go. Well, I'm glad you still, in the effort of transparency, said brand new. I will say, um, I know some of that shit is it's a very interesting topic. I think also in the same vein is how a lot of people feel about JC. I'm not gonna say his name. You know who I'm talking about if you know the initials.
Yeah, yeah,
I feel like he is also a tumultuous topic that a lot of people don't touch either. But at the end of the day, I think it's music. Like, if you appreciate them as an artist, you don't have to necessarily agree with their actions as an individual, but they've created great music, and I don't think that you should discount their music because you don't agree with them as a person.
yeah. It's personal preference on how you want to deal with whatever it is that they may or may not have done. So I think just for the safety of my own reputation, I'll stay away from that topic. But I think that. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of people who agree with that, and there's a lot of people who can't get past separating the artist from the music, and then both is okay. And I think that both of those options are perfectly acceptable
Mm-hmm.
to the individual for whatever you personally believe in. So I think that if you want to separate it, you can separate it. If you can't separate it, then that's also okay. So
Yes, I would
we'll
also. We'll leave it at that. I also agree with Kyle, and we're gonna move into a better topic, which is the most important one. Tell them about your band, Kyle, the Demon in Me, where they can find you out on social media and anything coming up in the next couple months, because this is coming out in the first week of July.
First week of July. Okay. So by first week of July, we'll already have more stuff out. But we just released a 3-song episode, and we have a full-length record. It's 12 songs total, um, and we're rolling it out in these things that we're calling them episodes. But we're doing 3 songs at a time,
Mm-hmm.
and we're gonna do basically the format is we're gonna release a single, and then we're gonna announce the release date for the episode that ensues following that single, and then that episode will include the single and then 2 other songs. So 3 total on each episode. So there's 4 episodes total. And then once everything's out, the album will be available as like a complete unit. You'll be able to purchase the record, like on vinyl or a CD or however you want to listen to it, and then it'll also be listed on streaming sites like as or the record in its entirety. But the reason we're doing it that way is because we know how detrimental it can be for every song that's not a single on a record um, to sort of be unheard or heard significantly less
Mm-hmm.
than the singles, and the traditional marketing plan is pick 3 songs, 4 songs, release them as singles, spread out, and then drop the record and just kind of like cross your fingers and hope that everybody listens to it. And I think that the way that the modern listener's attention span has shifted with Spotify and Apple Music and stuff like that is you have so many things that are easily accessible to you with the click of a button that there's no reason to listen to a full-length record anymore. I like to. I'm still a fan of listening to records front to back, but I'm not naive enough to think that like the average listener is going to do that. And we really want to. We think every song on this record is good, so we want to put as much emphasis into getting every single song heard as possible. And then once the record's out as a whole, you can have your favorites. You can listen to whatever you want. You can put certain songs on playlists, but we're going to drop them 3 at a time. There's going to be a lot of video content. I think 80% of the record is going to have video content, whether it's like a streaming video or a lyric video or some other type of video content that we can use to push it out. And I think that it's going to allow us to just really, really focus on each song individually and get every song it's going to do its due diligence for each track. And I think that if you have a record where, in our opinion, there are no filler songs on this record, it's important to get every song heard because every song can't be track 1. Every song can't be track 3. One of these songs is going to be 11 out of 12. And if 11 out of 12 is not a single, the odds of people hearing that song are super low. It's just the reality of the way that people listen to music now.
Yeah.
And so we're going to release a single, and then 2 weeks after each single, an episode will come out, and then about 4 to 5 weeks following that, we're going to repeat the process. So we just released episode 1 on May 8th, last Friday. It's been out for almost a week, and that's the songs are called Honeypot, White Room, and Run. 3 songs I really like. It's what's really exciting for me is that it's my least favorite episode out of all of them. So I'm really excited to keep moving forward and release more music. I think episode 2 is my favorite.
Okay, I was gonna ask that.
So this upcoming next release that's coming out, which is probably going to be out by the time this episode is released, your episode. See,
yes,
now we got
my episode. Now we're in a trance.
We're getting confused here. Okay, so by the time this interview is released,
there you go.
Public, yeah, our episode 2 will probably have been released by then. But yeah, that's probably my favorite episode, and I think that it's gonna be a fun experience. I think it's gonna really, really prove to us whether or not the record's as strong as we think it is. Because we're gonna be able to literally log on a metrics basis what songs and what episodes are doing better than others, and what are landing playlists and what are not, and what people are sharing more than others, and just it'll be really fun for us to see our opinions on these songs versus the way that other people feel about them. So that's kind of what the next few months look like. I mean, we're going to roll this record out slowly, but we're going to do it in a very, very particular manner, and it's designed to make sure that everything is heard the way it's intended to be heard. So
I think it's super intelligent. I'm not just saying that because you're on here, Kyle. I do think that I think the attention span of some people, I'm much in the same boat as you. I love full lengths. I don't think I'll ever stop loving full lengths, but I think with the ability now of bands to be able to pump out new music, especially now being in quarantine, I think it's important for people to have that ability to put songs out. And like you said, there are some songs that if you listen to it, they go unnoticed. And so I think this is a great way of picking one song that you think is the front runner of a certain episode and to kind of promote that, but also to have those 2 songs that may not have gotten as much love to be out there and stuff like that. So I think it's really smart that you guys are breaking it up into 4 episodes, and that all of you people should go check out Demon and Me. I don't know if he talked about his social media, but you can go check out Demon and Me. All of the links will be in the description where you can find out about their band. Check out each episode. Episode 2 should hopefully be out by the time this interview comes out, so go check that out as well. I know I will be listening to all the episodes, and low key, I'm hoping Kyle just sends me the whole thing so I can review it for all of you lovely people out there. So go check them out. Seriously, a band that you should not be sleeping on in 2020. Demon and Me got some good heat coming. I know. I don't know it personally, but Brandon will give you a little hint on if it's good or not, which low key, I think it's going to be good. I've already loved the first 3 in the first episode already. So, high key, if things are going well with that first episode, I can expect nothing less from the rest of the upcoming episodes that are coming out. But if you enjoyed this interview, share it, like it, subscribe. It goes an extra long way. Go make sure to tweet at Dustin Kensrew. You're going to go tweet at Andy Hurl, I think. Yeah, Andy Hull. I
Cool.
don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, Andy Hull. I messed it up. He's gonna fucking kill me. But go tweet at them so they can be on a Demon and Me track. And thanks, of course, to Kyle for coming on tonight and talking.
absolutely, man. Thank you for having me. That was a lot of fun. Thanks for putting up with my ramble.